One living in that city. Even when my life's...
This anime tells the story of Yotsuya Iosuke, an ordinary middle school student who has no achievements in his class. There is a female student named Shindou, who excels in various fields. Shindou even works as a model for a magazine, which makes many people admire her. Every time he finishes school, Yotsuya always goes home alone. He has no other activities besides playing games inside the house. When playing games, Yotsuya looks excited, but after finishing, he feels lonely again. The next day, while Yotsuya is cleaning the blackboard, he accidentally sees Shindou interacting with Hakozaki, which makes him curious. What surprises him is that they seem closer than usual. After the class ended, the homeroom teacher met with Yotsuya because he had not submitted his career plan questionnaire. While talking to the homeroom teacher, Yotsuya noticed that Shindou and Hakozaki were watching him. However, after the homeroom teacher left, the two girls suddenly disappeared. Shortly after, Yotsuya experienced a strange event. The surrounding environment suddenly began to glow, and he was thrown into another world.
What the hell is this? Where the hell am I?
In this world, Yotsuya discovered that Shindou and Hakozaki were also there. While Yotsuya was still confused, a mysterious figure appeared, introducing itself as the Game Master. The Game Master explained that they had to complete quests together. Although the first and second quests were completed, there were still 8 more steps before the entire quest series ended. The current quest was to fulfill the village chief's request within 14 days. Before starting, Shindou was assigned the role of Wind Healer, Hakozaki was assigned as the Sword Knight, and Yotsuya received the rare role of a farmer.
Is this some TV show?
Oh, please.
A farmer. Now until we meet Ag.
Shindou explained the reason they were there. Initially, he had completed quests alone, but later he received instructions to bring his friends along to complete the quests together. However, Yotsuya's role as a farmer proved to be insufficient to strengthen the team. When they faced monsters, he couldn't fight back because he didn't have adequate weapons. Moreover, Hakozaki, who played the role of the knight, didn't help much either, as she was too frightened and often threw her weapon away during combat. In the end, Yotsuya was forced to fight alone and lost his life. In this world, when a player dies, they can come back to life after 30 seconds. However, Shindou warned that they would truly die if all members of their team were defeated. Therefore, in every battle, at least one of them had to stay alive.
Are you praising me or giving me grief?
That night, Yotsuya and his 2 companions were resting at a certain place when Yotsuya, who was keeping watch of the area, suddenly saw a very powerful monster. The monster attacked Hakozaki, injuring him and devouring Shindou alive.
What's going on?
Yusuke! Run away! We can't win! Ah!
It ate her. If I die, it's all over.
Feeling incapable of fighting, Yotsuya quickly took Hakozaki to a safe place. He then continued the mission alone while Hakozaki sought refuge in a village. The village chief's request was to defeat a monster called a troll. Given his current level, Yotsuya felt it would be impossible to win, so he decided to hunt weaker monsters in order to gradually level up. While walking in the forest, he briefly touched the log point and saw Shindou and Hakozaki chatting. They were discussing who would be chosen if the next team member was male, and since Yotsuya was chosen, he felt that maybe one of them had a specific reason for picking him. Not long after, Yotsuya encountered a group of goblins. Even though he was only using damaged equipment, he managed to defeat them one by one until his rank reached 9. With this, he only needed to level up one more rank to change his job. However, shortly after, Yotsuya received news that Hakozaki had died. This happened because a troll, which they were supposed to defeat, was allowed to enter the village. When Yotsuya returned to the village, he couldn't find her.
And what happens if we fail? On! She's staying dead. No way. If I die, it'll be for real. Where's everyone? Anyone?
Then, when he touched the log point around the village, he saw that Hakozaki had been eaten by the troll. Because of this, Hakozaki couldn't respawn like Shindou did. Through the log point, Yotsuya saw how Hakozaki fought when the troll attacked. Despite being scared, Hakozaki still tried to fight to protect her friends. Not long after, the troll noticed Yotsuya's presence. In that situation, Yotsuya had no choice but to flee to a safe place. However, even though he ran, the troll kept chasing him until Yotsuya was hit by a blow that sent his body flying. The troll Yotsuya faced had a jumping ability like a frog, which forced him to keep moving before the troll landed. But just avoiding it wouldn't mean anything, so Yotsuya felt he needed to find a way to counterattack when the troll was about to strike him. By coincidence, he encountered a weak goblin. By defeating it, his rank reached 10, allowing for a job change.
As long as I run, I can... There's no point in running. I gotta just get behind this creep so I can hit... Shit! My rank!
Yotsuya hoped to become a sword knight, but instead, he received a rare job as a chef. Despite becoming a chef, Yotsuya had a chance to survive. Armed with a kitchen knife, he managed to attack the troll and rescue his friends from the monster's belly.
Is this one of...
Time to Norm. I bid you fair.
Get tough with this...
With this, they could work together again to defeat the troll. However, even though they understood the troll's attack patterns, they still struggled to break through its defenses. Because of this, Yotsuya thought of stopping its movements by attacking its previous wounds. When the troll stopped moving, Shindou used his wind magic to blow air into its body. As a result, the monster died from the intense air pressure.
The bear!
Congratulations.
Oh, that's good.
As a reward for completing the quest, the game master gave Yotsuya the opportunity to ask a question. Yotsuya asked what would happen if all the quests were completed. The game master then showed a future where Yotsuya and his companions were fighting to protect the city. After that, they returned to the real world at the same time as when they left for the other world. Once they arrived in class, Shindou planned to go to his club. After thanking Yotsuya, he immediately asked Yotsuya to take Hakozaki home. For Yotsuya, this was the first time he was going home with a girl, so he awkwardly said something strange to Hakozaki while walking with her. Knowing this, Shindou laughed and became even more curious about Yotsuya. That night, Yotsuya took advantage of his free time to practice outside when Gameister suddenly contacted him and gave him an order to approach a woman. Yotsuya was forced to enter a foreign school and meet a group of girls in the bathroom. There, he was asked to approach one of them who was being bullied by her friends. In this situation, Yotsuya was unsure of where to start to get the chance to approach the girl. He tried to save her by damaging the phones of the kids who were bullying her. This way, he could erase all the recordings and teach the bullies a lesson. However, Yotsuya's actions ended up scaring the bespectacled girl. When Yotsuya escorted her, the girl looked uneasy and hoped that he would leave her soon. When Yotsuya asked if she was being bullied, the girl immediately denied it. She explained that they were just trying to get back at her because she had said something excessive before. Despite this, she still felt uncomfortable with the way the people were treating her.
Isn't a nice thing to say. She thought Actually, I was talking about her. She was right. I mean, I didn't.
Well, I guess the whole thing makes perfect sense to me. Do I put my arm around her shoulder? Would I get arrested for doing that if I'm not her boy? I wonder if this counts as completing the mission.
Listen,
Am I done after I've walked her home?
I'd better
I'll
get
see
going.
you around, I suppose.
This new mobile game out called One Step That's about training male idols. We've all been. The protagonist is this female producer, and she gets closer to each of the guys. I thought if you tried to do some of the same things the guys in the game do, practice for you. Gotta go, bye!
Oh my gosh!
I'm not doing this for you. Don't get the wrong idea.
2 weeks of my life.
A few weeks after the incident, Yotsuya and the others were transferred to another world. Tokutate Yuka, the girl Yotsuya had met earlier, was selected as the 4th player and received a job as a fire witch.
The job of our 4th player, Yuka Tokatata of Heat.
Wizard of what?
In addition, from now on, your revival period will increase from Your quest is as follows.
When Yotsuya tried to greet Tokutate, she immediately avoided him and accused him of being a stalker who had kidnapped her. Shindou tried to calm her down, but when Tokutate explained the previous incident, Shindou and Hakozaki felt disappointed and started ignoring Yotsuya. This mission involved exploring 5% of the map and delivering items to Radodorbo. To do so, they decided to split up while ensuring their respective locations. When Tokutate paired up with Shindou, she was impressed by Shindou's way of thinking. Unlike herself, who had just resigned when bullied, Shindou stated that he wasn't afraid to fight back, even if it meant losing his friendships. When they all gathered at a certain place, suddenly the corpse of a giant insect fell near them. From the carcass, a giant centipede and several smaller insects emerged. Using his cooking skill, Yotsuya could tell the enemy's name and level. These were demon beasts with a threat level of D since childhood. Tokutate had dreamed of becoming a witch, so she was excited to try her magical abilities. However, she couldn't do much because her level was still low. Eventually, Yotsuya fought the insects alone by cutting off all their legs.
Best she can do with rank 1 magic. But whatever. I'm being treated like a... On the other hand... But wait, does that mean she thinks... Talk about embarrassing! But it took so much courage to walk her home! Damn it! This can only mean one thing, killer! I did hear you say she liked one of the... I'll give it a month or two. Or maybe...
To look at him, you wouldn't know it. But he's so strong.
Thought more like Tatsuki than I realized. It's that gap moe.
Wind magic won't work on these things!
Got it!
No, I don't see anything like that on its body. I have no...
To finish them off, he borrowed a large sword from Hakozaki and slashed them together. He did this because he couldn't wield weapons outside of his own job. That night, Shindou shared stories from his childhood with Yotsuya. She admitted that when he was a child, she was known as a mischievous girl, but thanks to meeting a woman, she managed to change her behavior. Shindou greatly admired the woman, but she jumped from her apartment because she couldn't bear facing people who always bullied her. When he entered school, Shindou was also a victim of bullying. Since then, she tried to present himself perfectly in order to have many friends who could protect him. However, all the things he had achieved became useless if she were in this world, so she begged Yotsuya to protect him. The next day, they arrived at a village that had been attacked by trolls previously. In this world, all players are identified as heroes. When they met a merchant, Yotsuya asked him about the Radodorbo region. The merchant explained that Radodorbo was on the edge of the continent, and the journey there would take about a month by horseback. Shindou begged the merchant to lend him his horse, but despite being heroes, the merchant refused. By chance, there was going to be a martial arts tournament in the city of Cortinel, where the winner would receive 3 horses as a prize. After hearing this information, they decided to join the tournament. However, when they were about to leave for the city, they got involved in a conflict with bandits. Due to a ban on attacking humans, Yotsuya and his friends chose to retreat rather than fight the bandits. 3 members of the hero group managed to escape from the bandits, but when trying to hold their ground, Shindou was captured. Tokutate and Hakozaki wanted to return to save Shindou, while Yotsuya chose to continue the journey to complete the quest. As a result, their group had to separate, and Hakozaki was also captured by the bandits. While Yotsuya was hunting a goblin group, he leveled up and gained a new job as a life sorcerer, a skill that allowed him to alter the metabolism of living creatures with his touch. Soon after, Yotsuya entered the martial arts tournament in the city but was easily defeated by Kahabel, a knight from Cortenel, in a single attack. Despite losing, Yotsuya didn't give up. He offered to work for the winner in exchange for a loan of a horse. Kahabel had no problem hiring him to fight monsters, but because Yotsuya had information about the bandits' hideout, he wanted Yotsuya to help eliminate them. However, before that, Yotsuya had to train with him first. The next day, Kahabel and his troops began their assault on the bandits' hideout.
Really sucks. Yeah, but at least, huh?
Charge the gates!
It's the army!
As long as I'm the one being attacked.
That's it! Release the beast now! Watch out, it's opening! Get away from here!
In response, the bandits unleashed their trump card, a creature called Berserker. Confidently, Kahabel faced the creature, but due to the huge size difference, he struggled. Yotsuya quickly assisted Kahabel using his new abilities. Although he was killed in a single attack, thanks to Yotsuya's help, Kahabel got a chance to defeat the creature.
Creature magic! The effect of my words and actions. You know what? The guy behind you is about to kill you.
As a result, Shindou and the others were saved. Additionally, Kahabel became interested in accompanying them as far as he could. Since a long time ago, Hakozaki did not like physical education lessons. She often received low grades, despite having clear reasons for not attending the class. This pushed him to change. She dreamed of entering a pharmacy school to create medicine that could cure her illness. However, her life now is very different from before. The violence that once meant nothing to her has now become an important aspect of survival. After a full day of travel, Yotsuya and his group decided to camp at the ruins to give their horses some rest. With his cooking skills, Yotsuya was able to prepare food for the entire group. This ability also allowed Yotsuya to level up without having to fight. People greatly enjoyed his cooking, but Hakozaki seemed to struggle with eating, as it reminded her of the terrifying experience when facing the bandits. The reason Kahabel wanted to join this journey was to train the heroes. So, after finishing their meal, she immediately invited them to practice sword fighting. This training might be useful for sharpening their skills, but for Hakozaki, who couldn't even lift a sword, it might take even longer. Soon after, a guard injured in a goblin attack was brought in. Yotsuya quickly healed the guard using his new abilities, which made his friends envious because he could level up by healing. The next day, Yotsuya and his group were ambushed by a group of goblins. Yotsuya, Shindou, and Tokatate quickly defeated the goblins one by one, while Hakozaki struggled because she wasn't used to fighting. Despite his fear, he kept trying to fight so as not to be a burden to his friends. Once all the goblins were defeated, they continued their journey. However, not long after, the wagon's wheel got stuck in a hole in the road, so they had to stop for a while to lift it together. While trying to fix the wheel, they saw a group of soldiers surrounded by kobolds. Among the soldiers were civilians and children who were helpless. Upon seeing this, Hakozaki was moved to help them. At first, Yotsuya forbade her because their time was limited, but since Hakozaki insisted on helping, he finally agreed to join him. As they approached, the group of kobolds turned and targeted them with knives and frying pans. Yotsuya tried to divert the kobolds' attention so that the troops could attack from behind. However, during the battle, Hakozaki was killed and had to wait a long time to revive. Despite this, she managed to defeat one of the enemies the second time around.
Protected again. It'll all amount to nothing.
Then summoned her longsword at the last second. That offset the issue of it being too...
After a short while, Kahabel joined the fight, and with more fighters, the kobold group was quickly wiped out. The soldiers they saved were from the Deok kingdom under the orders of the king. They were transferring prisoners to Radodorbo to be executed publicly. According to Kahabal, executing their own people in a foreign country is an excessive act, and as a knight of the state of Cordonal, he strongly opposed it. However, even though the leader of the troops had been saved, he disagreed with Kahabal's opinion. If Shindou had not intervened, they might have attacked each other. Meanwhile, Yotsuya assumed that this event was related to his mission, as one of his tasks was to deliver goods. He suspected that the prisoners carried by the troops might be people who had to be delivered. The problem was, if they delivered the prisoners, they would be executed at a time when they were confused. Tokutate then suggested that they continue their journey and try to stop the execution once they reached their destination. In the afternoon, Yotsuya tried to speak with one of the prisoners. From the conversation, he learned that the Deok kingdom planned to kill them for practicing a certain religion. Yotsuya then asked Kamilto, the leader of the troops, about the reason behind this. Kamilto explained that it was done as an example to erase their existence from the continent because King Deok wanted to unite the continent for the good of his people. After a long journey, they finally arrived at the mountains connected to Rado Dorbo. To save time, Kamilto suggested they take the tunnel route. However, after the tunnel's mechanism was activated, Kamilto and his troops abandoned them, trapping them inside the tunnel. Before leaving, Kamilto said that he could not travel with people who had empathy for prisoners. This situation made Yotsuya panic. He had lost the prisoners he was supposed to deliver, and the time to complete his mission was running out. Fortunately, Kahabal immediately calmed him down, urging him to continue the journey through the tunnel. It turned out that the path was not as easy as they thought. There were various obstacles and deadly traps. Due to his carelessness, Yotsuya got trapped in one of the traps and fell to the lower floor. Struggling to get out, Yotsuya asked his companions to continue the journey without him. To pass the moving wall, Hakozaki observed its mechanism. After finding a safe way, they managed to cross and successfully passed the trap. Meanwhile, Yotsuya tried to climb by carving footholds with his knife. However, to get past the gate, they would have to fight the gargoyle, a man-made fighter.
So what's this place? An arena? And what's behind?
Is that a monster?
I think it's a gargoyle. It's a man-made creature.
Is it dead?
Fluids can allow them to move even after thousands of years.
Your strength will work against that.
This must be the creature he was
Starting to move.
While climbing, Yotsuya had fallen several times. Despite this, he kept trying, hoping to escape the loneliness he felt in that place. This made him recall the first time he transferred schools, when he felt incredibly lonely because there was no one he knew. After several attempts, Yotsuya finally reached the top. While following the route on the map, he discovered a log point showing the moment when his companion, Kahabal, was killed.
Right. Is it a lock point?
Well, for these past 10 years and 3 months. You will have your revenge. I will curse afterlife. Then you can cut them apart yourself.
Well, this is 1, 2, 3.
Bimsberg lost his life because I'm so sorry.
This made Yotsuya feel that the cause of Kahabal's death was because he had invited her along. Even though they hadn't known each other for long, he felt sad about her death. Meanwhile, Shindou and the others were facing a gargoyle. In addition to the gargoyle, they also had to fight bad monsters that kept appearing.
Get away! His right arm!
While Kahabal advanced to face the gargoyle, Shindou tried to protect him from the bad attacks. Seeing his abilities, Kahabal praised Shindou as the best among the 4 of them. In response to the compliment, Shindou remembered a time when he was dedicated to a sport. However, just after mentioning this, he saw the gargoyle impale Kahabel and throw him into the water. Believing he was unable to fight the gargoyle, Shindou felt a great sense of despair. But as he was about to retreat, he accidentally stepped on a bat, which triggered a level up. This caused time around him to stop, and the game master appeared to announce a job change.
When you reach rank 10, time suddenly stops.
Does rank 10 mean a job change?
Congratulate. Time to spin the wheel for the job rule. You were a wizard, and now...
Seconds earlier, I could have saved Cavell!
Now!
It's the play button and time starts moving again. It's only for a few seconds.
By lottery, Shindou got a new role as a sword knight. He immediately used his new abilities to attack the gargoyle, but his slash wasn't strong enough to penetrate the enemy's defense. To defeat the gargoyle, he had to target its vital parts, as Kahabel had taught him earlier. Assuming that the gargoyle's heart was in a similar location to a human's, Shindou tried to strike at the gap in its bones. Although it wasn't easy, the attack succeeded in hitting the heart, causing the monster to stop moving.
Actually right with that. But the neck is almost always going to for the heart. Huh? Yeah, but it's true that these are not wearing full plate armor. There are seams between the pieces. And from below, you would want to strike here. Men and women are these techniques. They are part of sword art. And if his heart is in the same place as a human's...
When Yotsuya arrived, he was immediately informed that Kahabel had drowned. Though it was too late, he jumped into the water to save Kahabel. Thanks to his help, Kahabel was saved. But Yotsuya ended up fainting from using too much magic to heal his wounds. A little while later, Yotsuya began to regain consciousness. When he came to, he realized that his assumption about the mission might have been wrong. He thought that the prisoners they had encountered before might not be the cargo they needed to deliver. It seemed that they were supposed to deliver something that was truly needed by the recipient. After considering many things, they decided to split into two groups. One group will pursue the royal soldiers of Diok, while the other group searches for other items to be delivered. After the groups are formed, Shindou immediately went to search for settlements, while the Yotsuya group waited at a specific location to trap the royal soldiers of Diok. Kahabel had previously seen them send a letter to their king, and because the country was highly militaristic, there was a high possibility that this incident would be used as a reason to declare war. To prevent this, Yotsuya suggested making the royal soldiers of Diok believe that Cardinal was not their enemy. However, he also wanted to make them feel despair and regret for their actions.
Of Cortinal the next day.
I think
Their superiors think if the kingdom's soldiers went missing shortly after they were able to...
It might imply that their plan didn't work, that we somehow escaped their trap.
Bottom line, they're an extremely militant nation. Regardless of war. We must avoid that at all costs.
So what?
The kingdom has 10 times the number of soldiers that we do. We'd stand to be destroyed because of me.
Then here's what we need to do better somehow, in which they state clearly that Cortinel is not the enemy. We don't know the written language, penmanship, or signatures, so we can't force them. Leaves one option. We have to convince them it's the truth, so they'll report it to the... Very good question. I'm not sure just yet. And the truth is, the letter start a war anyway. But one way or another, they have to pay bear. Humiliation and regret. And I want them to feel...
The next day, Yotsuya saw the Diok soldiers with their prisoners while the soldiers were resting. Yotsuya approached them with the goal of negotiating. Before doing so, he spread false information that 3 of Cardinal's knights had died in the cave, while 2 other heroes had fallen into a pit. Furthermore, Yotsuya claimed that he had joined the religion of Artios and wanted to negotiate for the release of the prisoners. If his demands were not met, he threatened to use his position as a hero to spread the religion across the world. The royal soldiers of Diok could not ignore this. To prevent this from happening, they planned to capture the 2 remaining heroes at that time. Tokutate began to play his role by pretending that he could no longer remain friendly with Yotsuya. He feigned loyalty to the soldiers and promised to reveal Yotsuya's location while he was sleeping. After leading them quite a distance, the soldiers realized that Tokutate had lied. When they returned to their camp, they found that Yotsuya had killed all their prisoners. Tokutate explained that Yotsuya's claim of joining the Artio's religion was a lie. In fact, Yotsuya had come for revenge for the deaths of his 5 comrades. Next, Yotsuya burned the carriages and all their belongings, and then he and Tokutate escaped on horseback. In this way, the Diok soldiers would report that the heroes had interfered with their mission out of revenge. As a result, the relationship between Diok and Cortino remained unchanged, and no war would occur. On the contrary, Camelto would regret failing to carry out his mission. Meanwhile, the prisoners, who had actually been secured earlier thanks to Yotsuya, were now freed from the Diok royal army. After executing the plan, Tokutate felt confused about whether this world was virtual or real, as he was worried about the victims.
On. Don't you want to kill his killer?
What? Give me a break first. You never think of others. Seems then I would totally want to wipe them out. But if that's how it's to you.
You really want to know?
A bus?
It's about to fall off a cliff, and depending on how, and they'll all die. We just happen to be 4 of those passengers.
Nonsense!
No, it's accurate. Are you forgetting that your own survival is... I'm saying that when it comes...
After failing to complete his mission, Camilto remembered the command of the king, who had placed great hopes on the success of the mission. This failure made him deeply regretful, and he felt that he had to take responsibility and prepare to accept punishment. However, not long after that, Kahabal appeared behind him. Kahabal said that it would not be the king who would punish them, but rather herself. After saying this, Kahabal immediately finished him off without mercy.
You've been played for a fool. Are alive and safe. The one in black clothes who burned up was your... Now's the time for any final words.
Meanwhile, in the palace of Diok, the king received a report about the hero who was thought to be his enemy. Upon hearing this news, he immediately ordered an investigation into how to defeat the hero. Shindou and his companions were still traveling around their settlement, trying to find someone willing to send goods to Redudorbo. Although they had met several merchants, none of them were willing to send the goods. This made Takozaki assume that they might have made a misstep. To increase the chances of success in their mission, Yotsuya put several items into the cart. Once all the goods were loaded, they continued their journey. During the journey to Redudorbo, Tokutate began to feel that lately, Kahabal had been acting strangely, especially when interacting with Yotsuya. Tokutate remembered a similar event from his favorite game and tried to create a situation that would bring Kahabal and Yotsuya closer together. However, his efforts were in vain. When he tried to get them alone, Kahabal and Yotsuya both ended up falling asleep in the cart. Despite this, Tokutate did not give up and continued looking for ways to make progress in their relationship.
Go! This is it, Dream.
I'll carve my feelings into you as a scar that...
Reversal method in 1 step, the one we first saw used by Jaga. Before they part, Cavella's to carve her love into Yusuke. That's what Cavelle's doing. Yandere was never real.
All right, Yuka, your turn.
Stop being about me!
What do you mean? You're the one who suggested we train.
That was
Slice.
Yusuke, help me! Tsubasa, can you comfort me at all?
Are you sure she's all right? I don't know what to think anymore.
Supposed to have an event ready so they can be
Meanwhile, elsewhere, Shindou and Tuzaki managed to find a courier who would be traveling to Redudorbo. To complete the mission, Shindou immediately offered to escort the delivery. At first, the courier's associate refused, fearing competition in business, but after Shindou showed his abilities, they agreed to be escorted. That night, Kahabal thanked Yotsuya for helping him take revenge. This made Tokutate disappointed because his suspicions about their feelings were completely wrong. The next day, they arrived at Redudorbo. When Yotsuya reported and handed over the head of the royal army of Diok to the officer, the delivery mission was unexpectedly declared completed. The next quest is to explore 5% of the map area. To complete this quest, they decide to split up and explore different regions. At first, the quest seemed easy, but they did not realize that the weather there often changes drastically, which could mess up everything. While Kahabal was in a tavern, one of his followers informed him that according to the townspeople, a great snowstorm would occur that night. Since there was little she could do, Kahabal could only hope that the heroes would stay safe while staring out the window. Kahabal reminisced about his brief farewell with Yotsuya. Although it was only for a short time, that moment was very meaningful to her.
You're leaving already?
Yeah,
So then, I guess this is goodbye.
I suppose so. We're great. Well, you take care of yourself, okay, Cavell?
You take care as well.
Meanwhile, Yotsuya, feeling the increasing cold, tried to wear warm clothing. However, even though he wore thick clothes, he still couldn't withstand the snowstorm's cold. If he died from the cold, there was no guarantee of being revived. Therefore, he decided to keep moving to keep his body warm. At the same time, in the middle of the snowstorm, Tokutate wanted to rest. But remembering that his mission progress had not improved, he forced himself to keep going so as not to burden his teammates. Walking through the storm made Hakozaki feel suffocated, and his heart seemed like it was about to explode. Besides his weakened physical condition, she also lacked the proper equipment to face the extreme weather. The freezing temperature started to make her hallucinate, and she began reminiscing about his experiences since she first started exploring this world. On the other hand, Shindou was also struggling. She truly felt helpless with the situation she was facing. However, thinking about the time spent with his friends gave Shindou the motivation to push on and finish the quest. Meanwhile, Hakozaki was no longer able to keep going. His body started to stiffen, and she eventually collapsed from the cold. Not long after, Shindou also encountered a major problem. After walking quite a distance, she found herself back at the starting point she had passed earlier. When Yotsuya checked the progress of the quest, there were still 10 kilometers left to explore on the map, and only 6 hours remained. This time, the conditions were much harder compared to the previous quest. They were facing both physical and mental challenges, making it very difficult. In the midst of the increasingly dire situation, Yotsuya suddenly encountered a snow monster. With the abilities he had now, he managed to block all of the monster's attacks and then defeated it by targeting its weak points.
Attacking me at this moment! It's unbelievable. It came out of Won't work. Okay. Bring it! That was a pretty longer. I might not be standing here. Why would it have attacked me hungry? Huh? This me that monsters might have families. Am I supposed to feel bad for doing? If I leave them alone, they'll either starve or freeze to death. And they're just virtual.
However, when he was about to continue his exploration, he suddenly fell into a hole, where if he died, the game would end. The scene shifts to Tokutate, who has admired Maji's sister since childhood for her bravery and hope. She dreamed of becoming a great witch who could save the world. However, reality was not so simple. Despite having the power of a witch, she was still unable to do anything significant. All this time, she could only hide behind stronger people to protect herself. On the other hand, Yotsuya, who had just fallen, was able to come back to life. He had fallen into a secret dungeon that was warmer than the surface. As he explored the dungeon, a notification appeared that Hakozaki had died. Unlike Yotsuya, Hakozaki could not be revived because his body had frozen. Knowing that one of his teammates had died, Shindou was determined to complete the quest. Since the storm had subsided, she continued his exploration. Soon, Shindou spotted a settlement and rushed toward it. However, she didn't realize how thin the ice beneath his feet was and immediately fell into the frozen lake. Meanwhile, Yotsuya, who was still exploring the dungeon, had not yet found the correct path. The only path he found was a giant wormhole. With no other choice, he entered, only to be eaten by the monster
now you're
worm.
making progress. Jiro? Hey, don't be trying to take over Taro's tunnel! Crud!
Tokutate became the only remaining player. Knowing that all her teammates had died, she felt that this was the time to give up. Although she didn't want to die, she felt that no one would blame her because her friends had fallen first. In the midst of her despair, suddenly, Majiha Purple appeared, one of the witch characters she had admired since childhood. The presence of this character revived her spirit. She was motivated to keep fighting and continue the quest. But despite her determination not to give up, her body was too weak. Fortunately, a wizard saw her and quickly approached to offer her a ride. When the wizard asked where she was heading, Tokutate could only cry because her mission time was almost up. Realizing Tokutate was in a hurry, the wizard immediately used magic to speed up their journey. Thanks to this help, the map exploration quest was successfully completed.
Fatina, tell me, are you a player too, like all the rest of us?
Nope, not me.
A magic user?
Come win!
Please.
Wind, bestow your blessing upon this hill!
After everything was over, Tokutate asked the Game Master if this world was a virtual world. The Game Master replied that this was not a virtual world but a parallel world, exactly like Earth. The Game Master's answer shocked Yotsuya. He felt immense guilt because he had killed someone in a parallel world.
Earth in a parallel world.
When this world aren't virtual, they're Earthlings that just exist in a pair. I killed.
Upon arriving home, Yotsuya couldn't sleep due to the heavy trauma he had experienced and couldn't forget his mistake. The next day, Yotsuya and his friends participated in a sports activity while still thinking about what happened the previous day. Without realizing it, Yotsuya had become more athletic than before. In the basketball game, he was able to score points on his own, without help from his team. On the other hand, Hakozaki's physical abilities had also improved. Now, he could participate in sports, not just watch. However, seeing that Yotsuya was still down made his friends worry about him. After school, Yotsuya received a message from the Game Master. In the message, the Game Master asked about Yotsuya's feelings after killing someone. Yotsuya chose not to answer, but when he got home, a young girl suddenly appeared in front of him. The girl asked Yotsuya to reply to the message as if she were the Game Master. Upon further investigation, it turned out that the girl was indeed the Game Master, and she wanted to hear Yotsuya's thoughts on the events that happened the day before. Yotsuya said that although he felt guilty, he was fairly certain that the person he killed deserved to die. They had planned to do something despicable to a prisoner and had already brought them to a dangerous place. After Yotsuya shared his thoughts, the Game Master then talked about the next player. As before, Yotsuya was asked to meet someone, but this time it was at a Chinese restaurant. When they arrived at the restaurant, the Game Master explained that the person sitting at the front table was a drug dealer. Then a new player named Keita would come to attack that man. To prevent casualties, Yotsuya immediately took action and stopped Keita's plan. With his self-defense abilities, Yotsuya was able to match Keita's attacks.
Not worried, his bosses tricked him into thinking he won't get caught. 9.
Wait a minute!
The player's name is Keita Toruji, 14 years old and also involved in this plot.
14?
There he is, in the corner! You're gonna...
Wait, which one is he?
What the hell is your problem?
I'm not really sure what's going on here, but you've been fooled.
Shut your hurts!
Oh, brother. Idiots who don't understand what I'm
My eyes!
But then if they weren't idiots... Shuji, the younger brother's name? So this one must be...
Yeah!
Take your brother and get the hell out of here before the police show up.
Move it! Hey!
He's a Yakuza drug dealer! Who cares if he dies? Why are you protecting?
You kill him!
However, to fight his teammate who was armed with a firearm, he needed a special item that would allow him to use his skills in the parallel world.
Hey, punk!
It's your magic. Stop this nonsense right now!
After defeating all the enemies, Yotsuya told Keita to leave immediately so that he wouldn't get caught. From this incident, Yotsuya realized the reason the game master asked him to do this. He thought that by saving the player, he could increase the chances of success for future quests. Because of this, Yotsuya made up his mind to fight for the truth he believed in. Season 1 of this anime has ended.
Just a dumb kid with delusions of grandeur. Ideas are wrong. I'm wrong. Heartedly. But yet, how can I put... I still believe I'm the only one who's right and the rest of the world is wrong. Of course, I know in my head that that's just proof of my delusions of grandeur. If that's true, then so what, right?
I want to help everyone else.
Like hell, I'm gonna die!
I need your help.
Thank you for all that you did. Who are you? I fight for the unique version of justice that I believe in. His will!